You may want to consider using Microsoft Excel since you have a free license for it through the college, and let it do a lot of your grunt work. Here's just a few basics of Excel, and there'll be some more examples of how to make your work go very quickly with Excel. So let's generate the counting numbers. How do those go? They go 1, 2, now I can type in 3 and then 4 and then 5 and spend a lot of time typing. But with Excel, if you give it a chunk of a pattern, it'll recognize the pattern in a lot of cases and repeat that pattern. So the pattern between the 1 and 2 is +1. So it's just going to assume that it's +1 from there on out. And there are the first 11 counting numbers. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to fill it with yellow, and I'm going to go to the grid, and I'm just going to make an entire grid on all the borders out of that. Maybe I'll also bold them so they're a little easier to look at. Okay, so now let's create the even numbers. I'm going to generate the even numbers using this set that I created up here. Now I could create the even numbers the same way I just created that. I could say 2 and just ignore what you just saw, 4, and it's going to assume that the simplest thing is that I'm adding 2 each time. So I could get the first 11 even numbers that way, but let's do it using a formula. So what I'm going to do is generate the even numbers by doubling each one of these counting numbers. So that's a calculation. The calculation is listed out equals 2 times, and now I'm going to reference this cell, and I'm going to hit enter, and that's 2. Now as I drag this over, it's going to move the index of the cell it was looking at over also. So when I move here, it's going to go 2 times, but it's going to use the next cell over and the next cell over, and it will therefore generate the even numbers that way. And I could color those with a different highlight and put a grid around those. And that's using the formula in Excel. Now you've got some of these problems where you have to do successive differences. For instance, there was a problem where let's delete this. And there's a pattern where the first number is 5, the next number is 8, the next number is 13, the next number is 20, 29, 40. This is in a problem you would normally just be given this. You're given this sequence of numbers, and then you're asked to predict the next number in the sequence. And it's not as easy to see what this result ought to be. Another one, 85. So the question is, what is the pattern to these numbers, and what would you predict the next one would be? And the technique that you're shown in the textbook is successive differences. That is, you subtract 5 from the 8, the 8 from the 13, the 13 from the 20 from the 29, and you keep subtracting. And then if those are not constant numbers, then you go through there and do it again. And some of the problems may take 5 different sets of successive subtractions, and these numbers may be fairly large. So it either means a lot of punching of the buttons on the calculator, or it means using the power of Excel. So here I'm going to say equals this one minus this one. Enter. The difference is 3. And now as I slide this over, it's going to use those differences. And this is then the differences. I'm going to move this to the left. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the middle. That way it looks like it's like what it looks like if you look at the videos that have been shown using this stuff. And then you can do it again. I can say here, I'm going to put equals this one minus this one, enter, and I can drag those over, and now I do get that constant difference. And then from that I can say, well, if this is a 2, then this ought to be a 19. If this is a 19, this number should be 19 plus 85. And I'm out of time. So, but that's an example of the kind of things you can do with Excel.